Okay, great. And so I'm here to present a solution that is centered around food insecurity. Sorry, food banking as a viable solution to solving the problem of food insecurity and climate change. So we operate as a non-profit organization. We are focused on um, solving the problem of or combating hunger, food insecurity, and then we also are focused on reducing food waste and also developing programs or program that is targeted at improving the nutrition of vulnerable people, women, and children. So our programs basically are on three. We have three major programs. First is the feeding program. Second is the maternal health and nutrition program, and the third is the um, sustainability and self-reliance program that helps our beneficiaries become self-reliant. So I'm sure some of us in the room might have heard of the concept of food banking. Is actually an agency that collects food and have it redistributed to vulnerable people in the society, and we're able to solve major problems of climate change through that means. So under the feeding programs, we have EduFood. The EduFood program is designed mainly for students of public, secondary, and primary schools, and then we're able to get them meal per day with the use of a voucher, meal voucher. Because we are a food bank, we have people we are serving in our community. They are registered and they come into the food bank to have access to food that can last them for a whole month. And so mobile pantry also is part of it. And then we are able to go because food banks are not plenty, are not even much in Lagos. We are the first indigenous food bank in Nigeria. And then we go to distant communities with our branded vehicles to get food to those who are food insecure. And monthly outreaches. See, what you have on the screen is an example of what our monthly outreaches look like. We gather this surplus food and then we're able to capture them and have it redistributed to those who are vulnerable in the society. So our people ask us, how do you get your food? How do you source for your food? Through corporate donations, individual donations, and market purchase. And more so, the food we're also able to get through food rescue, through the food rescue process, which is excess food that come from farms, food processing companies, and then individuals and stores. Also, we get this food, and like I said, we have it redistributed to those who are vulnerable in the society. So far, we've been able to identify out of the population of Lagos, 25 million people, we've been able to identify 8.4 million people who are hungry, and then we've been able to reach 1 million out of the total, which still leaves us with a gap of over 7 million people who are at risk of hunger. Means that there's so much to do if we're able to have more food banks in Lagos, and the total population of Lagos 25 million. But we've been able to reach 1 million out of this these figures. So the maternal health and nutrition program is the second one, which we realized that malnutrition during pregnancy is responsible for high morbidity and mortality of pregnant women and their infants. And we developed a program that is targeted at improving the nutrition of pregnant women. And then it's a program that runs for 3 years, and we are still just at the beginning of the project right now. So far, we've been able to enroll 200 beneficiaries on this particular program, pregnant women and infants who are on our register and are able to have access to meals and intervention through our nutritionists and dietitians who take them through the process throughout their pregnancy cycle. Okay, so the sustainability and self-reliance program that we have is, we realize that the reason why most people are not able to put food on their table is because they either don't have the employment or don't have the skills. And what we do is we have a chunk of over 7,000 registered volunteers on our database, and out of them, we're able to get HR practitioners who are willing to volunteer their time to help identify the skills of our beneficiaries. And after identifying it, we're able to develop CVs for them. Then we digitally advertise their skills, to corporate bodies who are interested in those menial skills like painting, like security guards, like hairdressing, barbing, and all that. And then they are able to get the needed employment that they need, like through the job placement program. So it's a job placement program I just mentioned, and we are familiar with the family farming currently that is being supported by the United Nations. And then what we do is to train women to go into subsistence farming, to also encourage them to put food on their table, earn income, and also increase their decision making power within the family. So that we are doing to make our beneficiaries self-reliant, so that they don't permanently rely on the food bank. So far, we've been able to help 100 breadwinners to become self-reliant in this regard from our annual report. Our annual report is available on our website. You can see most of the progress we have made in this regard. Okay, so people ask us, how do you sustain the food bank? How do you get the funding that you need? So far, we've not been able to get an international grant, but we've been able to raise funds locally in 2016, 2017, because we started in 2016, and then we've been able to raise the sum of over 128,000 US dollars locally through the donation of individuals who are really interested in ensuring that the food gap is closed in our society. And it means that the food banking model is really sustainable, both in terms of food and the resources. So how can this be replicated? People might also want to replicate this in your home countries. My African brothers and sisters and other people here who are willing to replicate this. You can meet me at the stand, and I can explain more as to how this can be replicated so that food gaps can be bridged. These are contact details and our websites, and you can have a look at our annual report and the likes of it. And okay, and here's our team, and this is what we have. Thank you very much.
Yeah.